The Kings prevail against the Oklahoma City Referees Association 128-123 in a game where the Kings easily outplayed the Thunder. Like, this was an awesome performance from the Kings at home. Another one of those response games where after they get blown out, here they come. They're like, okay, we got to respond. And they do. And it's why this season has been so weird. It's like they just have these games where they just absolutely suck. And then they have games like this where they play so much better. I don't love the inconsistency, but obviously I can't help but love performances like this. Like, it was a 5-point win in the end, but it was easily the worst officiated game of the season so far for the Kings. And honestly, it just kind of sucks when every single play it seems like the officials are getting wrong. So then it's like, how are you supposed to even like take anything away from it? But the Kings persevered, even though the Thunder got within one there late. And there were a lot of things to like from this game. Obviously, I don't want to talk too much about the officiating, but if the Kings would have lost this game, I was about to come in here and be like, list off all 30 missed calls that the refs had. I was about to watch that thing back and list down every single one because the Kings did not deserve to have this game even be this close. And it wasn't just that run in the fourth quarter. It started from minute one. There were 4 fouls called on both teams within like a minute and 20 seconds. It was just like, I mean, from that point on, when Shea got 2 early fouls, I was like, yeah, this is how this game is going to be called. And I knew it wasn't going to be fun. I was hoping the refs would make an adjustment as the game went on, especially into the fourth quarter. They didn't. So that was not fun at all. But one more note on officiating, not actually about the officials, but about Mike Brown. Mike Brown is probably the worst coach when it comes to the use of the challenge. This game had a million missed calls against the Kings, and somehow he still found a way to use his challenge in such a dumb way. Like, he didn't even check with his bench to see who it went out on. Like, he did it on an out of bounds call early in the game that went off of the Kings. Why? He's so bad at the use of the challenge. You look at OKC using the challenge successfully in 2 key spots in the fourth quarter. Like, it has to be better than that. We would hope that it wouldn't be a big deal, but it is, because officials miss calls in key moments. We know this. We have to have our challenge for moments like that. And so he just has to be better with the challenge. He just makes too many emotional decisions in the heat of the moment, and his successful challenge percentage is abysmal. This game was a duel between 2 of the best point guards in the league, obviously Shea and Fox. Fox with 41 points, 7 assists. He went 5 for 11 from 3, 8 for 11 from the free throw line. Shea, meanwhile, 43 points, 9 assists, 16 for 18 from the free throw line. Very frustrating there. Keegan was in foul trouble for a lot of the game. He started out guarding Shea. Then Fox got a little time, and then Keon came in. And Keon was like the big story in this one. He came in and defended Shea, picked up 5 fouls, a lot of hands on the head moments, like, what are you supposed to do? But he did it valiantly, and he had an amazing game. He played 28 minutes in this one. That's as many minutes as Malik Monk usually plays. Like, he was playing the Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter minutes. And I'll get to those 2 guys, but the bench in this one was huge. You had Keon with 28 minutes, Malik Monk with 33 minutes. Keon with a career high 17 points. He went 5 for 7 from 3. And, I know I'm gonna sound like, LeBron James on this one, where it's like, I knew it was gonna happen. But seriously, within the first 3 possessions that he was out there, I could absolutely tell that he was gonna have a good night. Now, I didn't expect, 5 for 7 from 3 and him closing the game, but he looked so confident from the get-go. And I think it was him turning defense into offense. He had that big block on Shea. He was stepping into his threes with confidence, but not only that, he was getting into the lane and not panicking. He was taking his time, being patient, and he stepped into a midi and he was making really good passes. He made one really great skip pass to the corner for a three. And I think he just started out the game so well. It gave him so much confidence. And he just looked like such a different player from when he first started getting rotational minutes. Because when he first started getting rotational minutes, it was a lot of catch the ball, pump fake, jab step, maybe one dribble, and then just pass it around the perimeter. Now he's a lot more decisive. I think it's clear the game has slowed down for him already. He's taking threes when they're available to him. He's looking guys off, looking defenders off to then take a three. He's getting into the lane, making the right passes. I mean, this was an amazing game from him. Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter were having really rough games. They could not get anything to go offensively. There was one sequence where Harrison Barnes missed a wide open dunk, and then Kevin Huerter came down and missed like an easy like midi or floater. And that was in the third quarter. And that kind of just encapsulated their nights. Harrison Barnes had one really nice sequence where he got 2 offensive rebounds. That was about it when it comes to good things from him. He had like a couple other nice defensive plays, but he was definitely a bit rough. Kevin Huerter forcing a few shots, didn't look comfortable. Again, a few good defensive moments using his length, but 2 rough games from them. Like when you're just getting nothing from those 2 guys, it can really hurt. Obviously, it helps that we have a really good bench, but Trey Lyles and Sasha Vezenkov aren't going to be there every night to pick up the slack from our 2 starters that are supposed to be able to give us something offensively. And we just got really lucky. I don't know, you could say it's luck, but we got bailed out by Keon Ellis having an amazing game, so he could slot in for those 2 guys. Trey Lyles and Sasha both went 1 for 4 from 3. I thought they both played well, just missing some threes, especially Trey Lyles defensively. Like Trey was in there, he was taking charges. He took one. I mean, he had at least one other one that was definitely a charge, and then maybe another one that could have been called a charge. There were so many block calls that went against the Kings that should have been charges. De'Aaron Fox stepped in, took 2 on 1 possession, got called for a block. And Malik took a charge that was called a charge. But that was something that like De'Aaron stepped up and tried to take 2 charges, and it felt like everyone else looked at that and was like, oh, we should be doing more of that. And the Kings tried to take so many charges, and not all of them went our way, but enough of them did to where it made an impact and got us some extra possessions. One thing we didn't do well that we had dominated OKC in our last matchup was on the offensive boards. We had 11, but we allowed 16. Just a lot of possessions where they were getting third and fourth looks. I don't have the second chance points here. ESPN doesn't have it. But I know at one point the Kings were leading big in second chance points. So like the Kings were kind of converting more of the offensive rebounds into points, but in that fourth quarter, there were definitely some possessions where the Thunder scored. So it probably tightened up a bit in terms of the total second chance points there. We threw JaVale McGee out there in the second quarter. Again, I don't really know why. Like it feels like we do that a lot with different guys where it's like, we know JaVale McGee really isn't going to work. Like, why even put him out there for 4 minutes? And I felt the same way at the start of the second half where I'm like, we know that this starting lineup that the Kings have isn't working because Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter are not playing well, and we're getting diced up defensively. Why not just make the switch immediately? Like, why do we have to go through 4, 5, 6 minutes of this before we make a change? Like, why are we letting the Thunder back into the game because we won't make adjustments to the lineup? Now, I mean, I understand. You got to trust your guys, but I just think the Kings are deep enough to the point where you can make those quick decisions and you don't have to leave a lineup out there that isn't working out there for that long. But JaVale McGee had those 4 minutes, and then he did not see the floor again in the second half. OKC is a smaller team, and so we can take advantage of that on the boards, but JaVale McGee, he isn't sound enough defensively to work against a smaller lineup, especially when you have Chet Holmgren out there. And Chet was being guarded by Trey Lyles a lot for the second unit, and JaVale McGee was left on a perimeter player. And it just was not working because JaVale's closeouts were not good enough. And he had some nice moments where he was grabbing rebounds that maybe other guys wouldn't have gotten, but it's not worth it. And obviously Mike Brown and the coaching staff agreed in the second half. It just wasn't worth it to have him out there. And in the third quarter, when we went to the smaller lineup with Trey at the 5 and Sasha out there, or actually that was more maybe it was at the end of the third, but I know at the start of the fourth, I really noticed it when we went with that kind of smaller lineup. Immediately it created Fox more space to get inside. He got a layup. Then I think it was Monk who attacked into the space and drew help, kicked out for a Vezenkov 3. And that got us like a 13-point lead immediately in the fourth quarter. And so it worked really well. There are moments when we can take advantage of the Thunder's size, but that's more of a thing for Sabonis to do. I don't think that's a thing for JaVale McGee to do, right? You don't want to post up JaVale McGee. Of course, he can crash the offensive glass, but if you're facing a team that's smaller like OKC is, I just think it's better to look at that and say, okay, that just means we can also play to our strengths, which is also going small off the bench. Because we have our 8-man rotation, like locked in 8 guys, and it's Malik Monk, Sasha Vezenkov, and Trey Lyles off the bench. And that kind of leads to a smaller lineup where you have Trey at the 5, you have Vezenkov at the 4. When you get Alex Len back, it can change in some games, but I still think the same applies. And if Keon Ellis is going to continue to play like this, like obviously not to this level every game, but he has now had multiple of these games where he's shot well, where he's played well offensively along with what he's doing defensively. And so if he can establish himself, that's a really dangerous 9-man rotation. You get Len back. I think that's a really stable 10 guys that we have. But I don't expect Keon to be like this every night. Or even close. He's going to have his ups and downs like any young player does. But I have full faith in the rest of the guys to be solid off the bench every single night. Malik Monk is a guy who coming into this season, like last season, he was very streaky and not super consistent. Like you would always give something positive, but then there were also a lot of negatives at times. But this season, he has been so incredibly consistent. He has played like he did in the playoffs against the Warriors, but he's done it every single game. He surpassed the 30-minute mark in this game. It's incredible. I didn't know he was allowed to play more than 30 minutes. 18 points, 9 assists for him. He had one crazy block as well, which was really fun. And he's just the most exciting player on the court when he's out there. He crossed up, who was it, Kenrich Williams maybe? And hit a 3, had him stumbling a bit. He had his fair share of turnovers, 4, but so did everyone else. Fox had 5, and a lot of guys had 2. That was a problem for the Kings. Turnovers, they had 17. They limited it more in the second half, which was nice to see. In the first half, it was really a problem. The turnovers were killing us. And coming out of halftime, we had 2 straight turnovers. And I'm just like, here we go. I feel like we turned the ball over out of halftime a lot. And you would think that wouldn't happen as much because you have a play drawn up out of halftime. But it really seems like we turned the ball over a lot. But we got it under control. Despite the turnovers, I think the Kings came out in this game in the first half and did a really good job of moving the ball and continuing to do it throughout the entire half. There were no spells of the ball sticking, which we've seen at times. It was just a consistent half of good ball movement. I think it starts with Sabonis, who had a great game, 18 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists. I thought he picked his spots to attack pretty well, and his rebounding was great. The offensive rebounds were not his problem. That was long rebounds from 3-point misses that other guys were not getting. Looking at you, Barnes and Herter. And Keegan was attacking early. He got into foul trouble early, but they didn't take him out of the game. They just decided to move him from guarding Shea to guarding someone else. I don't remember who they put him on. But Keegan had a solid game. Nothing special. Didn't hit any threes, but didn't take that many. 0 for 2 from 3, which is kind of weird. Didn't take that many shots, but he scored 15 points. Went 7 for 8 from the free throw line. Yes, 4 of those were him getting intentionally fouled, I think. But it's still nice to see him get to the free throw line more and to see him attack more and not take as many threes. I love to see him working inside more. I feel like Fox had multiple spurts in this game where he just decided to completely take over the offense. One at the start of the third quarter. I mean, he went crazy in both the third quarter and the fourth quarter. You kind of have to go crazy in multiple parts of the game to be able to get to 40 points. And in the fourth quarter, when OKC was coming back, he was getting super frustrated. There was a no call. He got a tech. There were all the reviews not going our way. And then, you could just see he put his head down and he's like, I'm going to get to the rim and get a call. And he did. And then they reviewed it. And even though he did get fouled, they called it clean. That was a crazy call because he got fouled by like 2 guys at least in there. But he was pissed off. You could tell him not getting the calls. He was like, I'm going to go right into the paint and score. What sucks is it looked like he injured his shoulder. And it doesn't look like there's any news on that yet. But he was grabbing his shoulder. It looked really uncomfortable. His right shoulder, I believe, which just sucks because he shouldn't have even had to have been doing it, like getting inside and being in the game really at that point. But I love to see him attack because he's got the 3 ball this season. And it's been fun to see how he's been able to use the 3 ball to then get inside his hesitations and pump fakes and making guys close out on him. But it's also fun to see when he just says, I don't care about the 3 ball at all. I am just going to get inside no matter what. But we do have to talk about the 3 ball. Like he went 5 for 11 and you can just see if the defense gives him any space, which they have to because he's so fast, he's just so comfortable from like pulling from anywhere. He had that shot at the end of the third quarter, which was huge, that 3 to end the quarter. Malik Monk also had 2 big shots, but there are just so many times now where OKC sags off him to help and they just kick it right to him on the wing. And I'm like, you can't give him that shot. Like, what are you guys doing? Before it would have been smart. Now it's not. You cannot leave him. It's just so fun to have 2 guys in Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox who are just electric players who can make it happen from anywhere on the court. But they're also getting it into it defensively. We know Fox has been doing it defensively this season and last season, but he was getting his hands in the passing lanes and disrupting things. But we also got to give a shout out to Malik Monk for his defense in this game because usually teams can kind of, when they get a switch onto him, if Shea is switched onto him, usually it's barbecue chicken. But he really held his own tonight. And we went with a lineup of De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Keon Ellis, Kevin Huerter, and Domantas Sabonis at one point. So really no wings, just 4 guards. Kevin Huerter's a bigger guard, plus Sabonis. And it worked really well. It's just, that's a hard unit to contain because they're so quick, all of them. So somebody is kind of going to have a speed mismatch somewhere, and they can all shoot. Usually the worry would be the defense. And obviously we can't do that against all teams, all lineups. But against this Thunder team, when you have De'Aaron Fox playing defense the way he is, Malik Monk playing defense the way he was in this game, Keon Ellis obviously defending really well, then it can work really well against a team where we can kind of switch between Shea, Giddey, J-Dub, and we're not too worried about the size mismatches there. And we can even have smaller guys guard Chet. Chet really isn't punishing guys inside. He was working on the perimeter more, and so we could kind of use that to our advantage defensively and play smaller guys on him. Sabonis has bullied Chet in both of the games he's played against him, which is good to see. Like, Chet is a great player, But Sabonis is an all NBA player for a reason. So it's fun to kind of see him go to work against a rookie. I was just looking to see if there was any word on Fox's shoulder, and I didn't see anything. But what I did see was Mike Brown saying that he should be on Shacked and a Fool because of how bad his challenge was. And so it's good to see him taking accountability for that. Like, he knows he needs to be better with the challenges. I also saw Malik Monk got Defensive Player of the Game. So that's pretty cool because that's, I don't know, I would guess that's his first of the season for sure. I don't feel like he got one last season, but maybe he did at one point. All in all, this was really a good win for the Kings, even though defensively at times, we gave up 123 points, but there were a lot of tough calls going our way, and it changed the way we had to defend. I did like how they were blitzing against Shea and making other guys beat them. Giddey hit a lot of threes. Jay Will hit a three, and that's not going to happen every night. But also Isaiah Joe was missing from three. J-Dub was missing from three, but Lou Dort was making his three. So it was kind of, a little bit backwards. Ousmane Dieng was hitting his threes. And so the strategy didn't work perfectly, but I still like the idea of just not letting Shea beat you at times. When you can, you blitz him and take the ball out of his hands. I mean, I thought the Kings defense was actually pretty good, despite us allowing 123 points. Like in the first half, OKC did not score a single bucket in the restricted area. And I thought the contests were really good, going straight up. And so, I mean, I think we've seen that all season, that the Kings have improved defensively. It's never going to be, a top defense until there are personnel changes, but I think we are getting better. But speaking of personnel changes, I will talk briefly about the Kings signing Juan Toscano-Anderson. I did make a short about this on TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Follow me on all of those. But JTA is a guy that I really like for this team. I mean, I've just been begging for just somebody who has some size and physicality on the wing. He's 6'6", but he plays bigger than that. Like Herter is 6'7" and plays smaller than that. He's a physical defender, career 32% from three. Obviously not great, but he can shoot them, at times. I don't necessarily expect him to crack the regular rotation, but just a guy who, when Zion is just going right at Harrison Barnes every time, we can throw somebody else out there to try to defend him. I've been asking for a Torrey Craig or someone like that. And that's what we're getting in Juan Toscano-Anderson. So I'm happy that we just got somebody. And I think that's a pretty good get just for a guy that's just sitting out there in free agency. Obviously, there's a reason he's just sitting out there. I don't want anyone thinking this is the signing that's going to turn us into contenders or totally improve our defense. It's not, but it should give us a little more versatility defensively when we have to guard a team with multiple bigger wings. This was the first game of a 6-game homestand for the Kings, and so now they are going into a favorable stretch here. 2 games against Utah and Washington. Washington has been absolutely awful this season. They haven't won against a real NBA team in a while, and what I mean by that is they beat the Pistons. But other than that, they haven't won in a long time. The Jazz have, not been good this year at all. And so now's the time where we need to start racking up the W's. We've done well so far to start the season, right? We're in a solid spot record-wise. It's weird that we have 9 losses, only against 4 teams, and a lot of them have been blowouts when we have lost. But it doesn't matter because they only count for 1 loss. And so now at home is when we need to start racking up wins against these lesser teams, because then it does get more difficult against the Celtics, against the Suns, and against the Timberwolves. The Juan Toscano-Anderson signing, I don't think it is official yet. And so I don't know if he'll be available against Utah, but he did play for Utah last season. So maybe we could get him in there for a little revenge game, He can go out there and hit 3 threes or something. Anyways, that is it for this episode of the Roll Report. I will be back on Saturday to recap that game against the Utah Jazz. Peace.